Anders in Sweden writes, he says, my question, what does bigger cables in the wall make the sound different? How does it make the sound different? Quieter background, greater soundstage, or is it just that the simple electronics like the lower impedance in the cables so it can perform more efficient? Excuse my bad writing, not often I write in English. Well, a heck of a lot better than my Swedish, buddy. Thanks, Anders. Yeah, you know, there's, oh boy, you know, here we go again. The debate about cables, and I mean, we are clearly drinkers of the Kool-Aid, because I just, you know, when we have time, I love demoing for people the difference between what a power cable makes. And yet, you know, we're not changing the cables in the wall, what he's asking about. We're changing the cables outside the wall, which has a lot to do with noise and EMI and all that we don't have to bother about in the wall. But that's a whole other story, and I'm not going to try and convince anybody that it's true. I wrote one, you know, I do a daily post, Paul's Post, and on that I was writing about our tendency to feed our own biases. And it's true. We all do it. Me as much as anybody else. If we believe something, whether it's politics, whether it's, I don't know, pick your point, cables, right? We make a decision, this is what we believe in, and then we hang out with people that have similar beliefs. And the stories we read have similar stories and beliefs. And we do this to bolster up our affirmational bias, if you will, right? So it's good in the short term. I don't think it's such good in the long term. We want to always experiment and look at the other side, because, you know, what we hear here and what we do with these cables, when you sit there and listen to it on this system, I have not found anybody yet that did not hear the difference. And yet, I can see you out there. You're looking at me going, this guy is so full of, you know what? Because your bias leans over this way and you haven't heard it yet. Okay, here's another diversion. I was thinking about this on my walk this morning. 100 years ago, maybe 200 years ago, I don't know, sometime in the past, if I were to tell you that there is an entire world of things in the air and in the dirt and in the water crawling and creeping and all over your skin, and, you know, this microbial world that actually is running everything. It's in your gut. It's everywhere. If I had told you that, you'd look at me like I was nuts. Why? Because you can't see them. So me telling you that it exists, when clearly to your experience, you've never experienced it. You look at this guy's nuts. There's things crawling on me that I can't see. Yeah, good, fat chance. Well, we know it's true. We know it's true because we can see it. So why is it so difficult for somebody who has never heard a system like this and listens to changes in cables and doesn't hear any difference to say, oh, it's not true? Because I can't hear it. I get it, but it's completely illogical. Okay, enough of the rant. Back to Anders' question. I think while there may be some small changes available by the size of the wire, and I recommend no less than 12 gauge wire, 10 is better if you can do it, it makes a marginal difference. The biggest difference that I have found in-wall is separate home runs. That makes the biggest difference of all. So for example, if I had all the plugs in this room on one huge thick wire, an 8 gauge wire, which you couldn't even find an outlet to handle that, versus every plug that has equipment tied into it with a separate home run back to the circuit breaker, but it's only 14 gauge. I would be much better off sonically with those home run smaller gauge than a single heavy gauge parallel run. So yes, thicker cables in the wall help maybe a little bit. Having never done a direct A-B comparison, it's hard to say, but I can tell you from experience and doing those tests, without question, home runs, each piece of equipment or section having its own home run back to the circuit breaker, that makes a huge difference. Okay. Thanks for listening to me babble and rabble and go on about stuff. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye.